there's so many opportunities out there nowadays. Now, you talked about that there wasn't, and I can't even pronounce those like Prodigy and stuff like that. I have no idea what they are. That is way before my time, it feels like, even though they might not be. But there's so many opportunities out there nowadays for whether it's musicians, filmmakers. I was talking to a photographer the other day. I did a wedding and I was a video end of the wedding, and they hired another photographer to come in to do pictures only. And we were talking and we were collaborating, and they said to me that, the worst thing that happened during the pandemic for them especially is everybody became photographers overnight because everybody just bought cameras while they stayed at home. So now everybody's a photographer. But I kind of take pride in that. Like, I'm over here like, I like seeing people dive into the industry. I like seeing people, especially in my local area where I don't have a lot of film or photographers. I like seeing people come in that want to act, that want to, and they could start as early as high school. They could be like middle-aged, as long as they're getting into the whole idea of like, oh, okay, let's create some not only content, but good content.
Yes.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on what I'm saying, but for example, like, I would like your opinion on if today's opportunities are really good for everybody or they kind of hurt the industry. Are you like, do you think it's good or do you think it's bad?
I'm definitely in between, man. I think I love the fact that everyone became a photographer. I think, including myself, I might have, downloaded a cool little photo app and took a few photos, put a few filters on them, some cinematic, or like I use Final Cut, and I have all these Lutzes that I use, and I feel like, oh my goodness, this looks awesome. Nowhere compared to you, man. So, but at the same time, I think that I love the fact that everyone's tapping into their creative side, and at least in the art world. Here's how I see it, man. I think that it comes to a point that you have to kind of embrace who you are, because you go on YouTube, you type in guitar, or type in any whatever guitar solo or guitar tutorials. There's going to be millions of videos of great guitar players. So it comes to the point that you could either be really discouraged by and be like, I quit because there's no room for me. Or you can be like, you know what? I was created with this gift for a reason. And, you and I, believe in the Creator. We believe in God. We believe that God gave us these beautiful gifts, right? So it's like there's a purpose for that. And that's where we have to kind of tap into what that purpose is. And me as a guitar player / producer and songwriter, I kind of learned how to stay in my lane. I learned how to recognize what I was good at and also recognize what I was not good at. And it's funny, man, the more you recognize what you're not good at, it kind of like strengthens the area that you're really good at. And it allows you to collaborate. If anything, bro, collaboration in our field is like imperative. It's like so important because, we would not be having this conversation right now if you did not respect my gift or if I didn't respect your gift. And then there's a level of respect. So from there on, it's like, man, yeah, of course, there's other videographers that I know, of course, the same way that you know other musicians. But the fact that there's a level of love and respect and kind of digging what you're doing, I think that's what makes it beautiful. And for me, I learned to kind of like, instead of me trying to be like this guy or be like that guy, which I grab from all these influences, I realized that if I grab from John Mayer and then I grab from B.B. King and then I grab from Metallica, it's never going to sound like John Mayer, B.B. King, or Metallica because it's going to be funneled through me and come out like me. So I think I'm embracing that more. And once you add the whole spiritual side of this, then you're like, well, that's God created me to be different. God created me to be this person. So I'm going to be the best me that I can be.
Boy, that sounds really familiar. But, I've been editing a song on repeat, as you know what the song is. But that'll come out here. And I'm excited for that. We won't really talk too much about that. Maybe say that for the end a little bit, just to put some icing on the cake of what could come, especially with your band too. Like I want to get in and talk about your band because you're performing in Connecticut coming up, right?
Yes. So I live in Colorado now. I moved here about a year ago from Connecticut. So I'll be doing a few shows in my home state. They'll be next week.
also getting back on the social media conversation with YouTube. I mean, you got a killer YouTube right now. I don't know. You're putting out some good guitar little lessons there. I like it.
Man, okay, so going back to your question from like a few minutes ago. So I was like, all right, let me dive into these guitar tutorial videos, and it's really cool. I mean, I think that if I can be completely honest, I think I might have gotten a little bit discouraged by the fact that you have this pool of content from great guitar players with great video, with great stuff. But it's very difficult to kind of get out there on YouTube because it's such a saturated pool of content. I'm still putting it out, not as much as I should have, and as I shared all that with you just a few minutes ago, I'm preaching that to myself.
Well, no, I think now, as somebody that doesn't know how to play guitar, as somebody that like went for piano lessons at a young age, but like that was it as far as it came. Now I played violin for a little bit, but the violin teacher made me quit. That's a whole different conversation. Anyways, but when it comes to your work and putting it up on YouTube, and let's not even go with your work. Let me just say, because I was talking to another podcaster the other day, and he's been in the podcasting game for about 2 years now, and I know that he hasn't been happy with his performance. Like, it's like, okay, he's putting out all these podcasts weekly, but he's not getting the traction in the audience, and he's been doing it for 2 years. He asked me, he's like, should you give up? My advice to anybody in that position, and I know I haven't grown as a podcaster that much. We're getting a little bit of growth and some traction, but you have to first love what you do. Because as long as the content you're putting out, now granted, you can have good content, you can have bad content, to go back with your points, but if you're not happy with yourself at the end of the day and the content that you're making and that you're enjoying it, and you're like, so podcast here, what we can take away, whether there's 2 people watching this podcast between me and you, John, whether there's 2,000 people watching this podcast or 2 million, the fact is we can sit here, talk to each other, and take away things from your life, from my life, and just incorporate that into our lives. And that's really all that it matters for me personally, sitting here with you guys, having these life conversations. And that's what you need to take away from it. And that's what I take away from it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because one of the reasons that I kind of like just didn't fully dove into the whole guitar tutorial world is because, if you follow all the guidelines, okay, you gotta type in what's trending right now for guitar tutorials. So, and there was all these videos that it's like, well, what I need to do that so I can get to more subscribers and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, there's already 50,000 videos of someone playing a G chord, but I had to kind of follow. And I was like, you know what? That's not really me. That's not really what I want to do. I don't mind teaching G chords. I love teaching the G chord, but in that sense, I felt like I could have offered something else. And that's why all the content I put on there, like going back exactly what you said, I'm very passionate about that content. About doing something that's not really quite offered right now. It's a little different enough that you can get something out of it and not just kind of be like an imitation or a duplication of like whatever's trending right now on YouTube.